Welcome back. Abused and neglected children put into foster care need an adult to be their voice. Court-appointed special advocates are just that. Juliana Huddle, the executive director of CASA Davidson County, is my guest. And joining us now is News Channel 5's own Claire Copsby, who happens to be a CASA committee member. Welcome, Claire.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is so fun to be here.
Well, you're usually doing the interviewing, so I know it's a little surreal to be the person being interviewed. But as you know, before we went to the break, Juliana was just talking about what great things that CASA does. And you know firsthand, when did you become involved with CASA?
I was introduced about 8 years ago through an organization I was working with. This was their philanthropic work, and so I started very small, doing small projects, and then when I became a reporter and started doing stories about the foster care system, it was a natural thing to also call the local CASA organization to find out how their work was impacted in the pandemic, and that just put an exclamation point on how important their work is and how it's so behind the scenes. And so for me, it was always, how can we bring more awareness to something that is behind the scenes and really helping the social workers who are tirelessly working to improve these kids' lives?
So when you first became involved and you started kind of looking into the role of what the CASA volunteers do, as well as just seeing how the child welfare system works and how these children are basically don't have anyone to speak for them. What was the thing that surprised you most? Because for you to become involved, there had to be something that you felt that really, really needed to be brought out about what this group of folks were doing at CASA.
I think the one thing that will forever be in my mind is talk to a girl who actually was a CASA kid, and she spoke about how without her CASA, she would never have done any of the dreams that she now had. At the time I met her, she was in college and pursuing a degree in education, and how passionate she was to continue that on. But her CASA, years later, you know, she was far past 18 years old, was the closest person to her in her life. So the impact these people can have that was stunning to me. And as I've talked to male CASA advocates, I've talked to women advocates, and they just, the things that they have seen through these kids, I mean, it really takes a special person to go into these homes and to see what they see and say, okay, we're gonna find a way. And they just get so attached, and you're like, okay, this really is passion behind what they're doing. So for me, it was seeing those people and how involved they were, and saying, people need to know about this, and there's such a need for more advocates. So that's really why I've stuck around and continue to be. This is, you know, of all the things I'm involved in, this is the one that means the most, you know.
Because you've talked to me about, you talked to us about CASA even before, you know, we reached out to Juliana and how we knew at that point, because you're relatively new here to News Channel 5, but we knew that this was something that you were extremely passionate about. And we've interviewed folks from CASA in the past and knew of the great work that you do. But as you pointed out, Claire, the CASA volunteers maybe don't realize sometimes what an impact they are having on these young people's lives, that years later they don't forget that person who stepped in to sort of intervene on their behalf. Do you find that the CASA volunteers understand their role and the importance of what they're doing, and how in the long run, because if you get involved with something, sometimes you think, I just don't even know, you know, this may not be going the way I want it to. There may be that exhaustion, the exasperation of just seeing how things are turning out. But hopefully they do understand the importance of their work and in the future, how it's going to impact these folks in the future.
Oh, I think they definitely do. I think that's what keeps folks coming back. The work is hard, but when they see the impact that they're having, they know that the work that they're doing is worthwhile. Absolutely. And it keeps them coming back for more.
We talked too about the fact that it takes a village. You know, we were talking about this during the break. It takes a village. And the pandemic has affected so many aspects of our lives in your CASA volunteer pool, but also the foster care pool. We need, I should say, more foster care homes, more foster homes.
Yeah, you know, the pandemic didn't leave any area of our community unturned, unfortunately. And we saw a great decline in our foster homes. And so, you know, a lot of our kids that are in the Davidson County child welfare system are being placed outside of Davidson County, several hours away, just because we don't have enough foster care homes here. And not to sound cliche, but it really does take a village to support our kids and our youth. And so whether that's becoming a foster parent or a CASA volunteer or doing diaper drives, or, you know, a lot of our kids need socks and underwear, just basic essentials, becoming a mentor. There's a lot of different ways folks in the community can plug in and support and love on our kids.
In one way, we got to take a break. When we come back, you have a great fundraiser coming up. This sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. Claire's involved as well, and we're going to take a break. But when we come back, we'll tell you more about a special party that shoes are involved. Stay with us.